Hey, how's it going? This is Adam 2 for 1. I was thinking, like, does anybody remember when this community first started? What we were talking about? Like in the beginning, we were talking about games. So people like Anita, we thought this person was real. And you got to think about like what her beliefs really were. She really wasn't a gamer. She really didn't know what she was talking about. So when she was challenged with her beliefs, she had to say that she was a gamer. But we don't really know. Was she really a gamer? All we know is that she was attacking games. So everybody was like, the things that I'm comfortable doing, the things that I want to do, this person is trying to destroy them. So we had to attack her. We got to go get her. So we did everything we can to destroy her. And we realized that, like, attacking Edith all day, that was kind of boring. It became like, you know, gangs are still being created, media is still being created, movies are still being created. You know, you can say, well, yeah, media is being diversified, and more women are in movies, more minorities in movies, but does it really matter? I mean, people say, well, Ghostbusters was ruined. Wait, so you name one movie that was destroyed by diversity, and that was like, that's your proof that everything fell apart. But is that really enough? So once we realized that, you know what, that wasn't really a big deal, all that stuff, we moved to religion. And that's when Richard Dawkins and Hitchens and all these people came about. And I kind of predicted that atheism eventually will become a religion, and any other group that was against a religion would enter into religion, and atheism just messed that whole thing up. I already predicted all that stuff was going to happen. I already knew all that stuff was going to happen. And it wasn't like women. Okay, women entered it, messed it up. No, it was just a type of women. It wasn't like men was opportunists. Who were opportunists, con men, people who's gonna want to make money. They was gonna enter and mess it up. No, it was just certain people, certain men came in and messed it up. Now we moved from atheism to the whole SJW thing. So now with the SJWs, you got the feminists, the male feminists, the professors, you know, the Antifa, the trans people, the gays, whatever. You have all these groups, and they have their little conferences and stuff. And then you start thinking, okay, well, they're protesting in the street. They must be a threat. But when you go to their conferences, there be like 20 people in the room. And you're thinking like, these people you think are a threat? These 20 people in a room? How in the world do you think that they are actually making an influence on the world? The only way that you will believe anything is that your life is mediocre. That's the only way. Now that the SGW thing, that has become boring, and nobody wants to talk about it no more. But it still has a following. People still believe that this stuff is real. Like you will really go out and see these people. It's like if you want to see it, you're gonna see it. And a lot of times, if you don't find it, you'll just created in your mind that is there. So that's the only way you believe it's true. Now that everybody's like, you know what, it's SJW, it's getting on my nerves. I'm getting tired of attacking these people. They are not a threat to me, they're not a threat to my livelihood. So they moved on. And then we move on to race realism with Richard Spencer and not Sargon yet. He's kind of still on this like SJW's a real thing. But we have Richard Spencer, you got Greg Johnson, which I just heard of. I don't really know who that is. And some other guys, you know. Now, if you look at the past of these people, a lot of them used to be liberals, a lot of them used to be certain things. Some might be Jewish, I don't know. But the problem that's going on in the racial realism alt-right movement is that eventually, which is happening right now, is that once you realize that people are not being extreme enough, you're gonna start attacking people. So how long is it gonna take for somebody to be like, hey Richard, you know, are you really actually white? For them to turn on you. Hey Millennium Woes, are you actually white? You know, for somebody to put a bullet in the back of your head. You know, I know people want to attack, you know, Sargon right now, Sargoy, the Godfather. But he was right about a lot of stuff. You know, you say, what is white? Yes, what is white? And a lot of times when you're talking to these race realists and you ask them a question that they can't answer, they usually deflect and like give this long-winded answer, or they give some like philosophical, I don't know. Anyway, they try to have this high IQ answer, but they never actually answer the question. So you say, is Richard Spencer white? You say, I don't know, he looks kind of white. He got all the features. Yeah, probably is white. And you say, well, Anita Carsi, I don't even know her name. See how irrelevant she, can't even remember her name. Is she white? I don't know, she does look kind of white. And you got Sargoy. Is he white? I don't know, he looks kind of white. I mean, he has brown hair. I guess he has brown eyes, maybe gray eyes. Looks pretty white. Is he white? Yeah, he's probably white. But once you realize that someone is white, once you realize that, I don't know, the person has a high IQ, what do you do after that? So it's kind of like, it goes way back to the whole Gamergate SJW stuff. Once you figure out that, okay, Anita's a threat, we didn't destroy her, what happens then? Do you go back to gaming? Do you say, maybe I should make my own games? Do you say, maybe I should make my own media? If they're attacking the media and they say the media is corrupt, should I make my own media? Should I make my own movies, my own news? I don't know, right? Maybe I should just go back to my life. Maybe I should just, if I think they're gonna corrupt my kids, I should just have my own kids and teach them right, and I ain't gotta worry about the media. Because the media is all voluntary. You don't have to expose yourself to it if you don't want to. Matter of fact, I say the internet is actually worse than the TV. Because the internet, you can create your own echo chamber. You can listen to Sargo all you want. You don't have to listen to anyone else. You can listen to race realism all day. And you don't have to listen to nothing else. You don't have to be challenged with any other idea. You can listen to Richard Spencer and Anita all day. And you don't have to be challenged or nothing. You don't have to be challenged with no other idea or no other thing. You can feel as though you're white and you're great. Your people are great. And your people has no faults. They did nothing wrong. And you will hear nothing else. All you would hear is that your people are great. They did nothing wrong. And there's nothing wrong with them. And they don't have to do anything else. You don't have to create your own community. You don't have to. You can have your kids right now. Nobody's stopping you. If whites are the elites, whites are the globalists, if whites are great, then if you are white, then nobody can stop you. Because your white people, which is you and the others, which is part of you, part of your race, you're all in it together, then why would any white person stop you? It's kind of like the whole crime stats thing. You know, they're saying that blacks commit more crimes, even though we have less people. And then you say, well, actually, whites commit more crimes. Right? Per capita or whatever. And then they say, well, it's because more whites than blacks. But if white people have high IQs and white people are better, wouldn't that constitute that whites wouldn't commit any crimes? If whites are better and they have high IQs, and if low IQs mean that you're going to commit more crimes, wouldn't that mean that whites wouldn't commit no crimes? Or more likely to commit way less crimes? Shouldn't the percentage of whites committing crimes be really low if whites are great? You know, whites do some of the great things. Some whites do great things. Some whites are just living their daily lives. You know, not all whites are great. Not all blacks are great. So if you can say that not all blacks are great, that we can't be proud of, blacks should not be proud of the other blacks that have done things because you didn't do anything. And you can also you can say that to the whites too. Not all whites did great things. Some did some bad stuff. So I know people think they got some stats on some whites. They think that all whites are great. They did nothing wrong, but it's not true. And like you say, with the race realism and the low IQ, high IQ, once you get that information, what are you supposed to do with that? Like, are you gonna, okay, you say you got low birth rates, that's the reason why the globalists are bringing in the immigrants because we have low birth rates. If that's true, then shouldn't the logical conclusion be have more kids? But every time you ask a race realist this, they dodge the question, deflect, give this long-winded answer, or say, I'm not going to answer that. I don't need to. I don't have to answer that. Then you're like, well, what are you supposed to do then? Like, what are you going to do to stop the immigrants from having kids? But why does it matter? Who cares if they have kids or not? Your problem is not with the immigrants. Your problem is with the blacks. The blacks are having too many kids and they're producing single mothers, deadbeat dads, and criminal children. Isn't that more of a threat than the immigrants? That right now, a black person can rob you. So isn't that what your problem really is? And right now, low IQ people, well, you would say, and this low IQ thing is so dumb. There's so many low IQ people. It's like I can throw a dart and find a whole bunch. I can throw a dart, bam, I can find you as low IQ. Most of these race realist people are low IQ. And it's like, You having a PhD, having a degree, that don't really mean anything. Anybody can have a degree in anything. You could have a degree in social justice. I mean, I went to the store a week ago, and this woman had a degree in social justice. I mean, it's like having a degree. What is that supposed to mean? Is that does the degree constitute like success? Like, okay, I got a degree. I'm also gonna be successful now. I'm better than you. And it's all these like inventions you're claiming that you did. Like they claim that whites invented guns when that's not even true. The Chinese were the first to invent guns. And I say, well, that's not true. Well, if you're if you conquer a country, you can rewrite the history. You once you conquer something, you can rewrite the history. You can destroy all the history books, all the books and everything, all the inventions that they made, and then, or you can claim inventions. You can go into a country, destroy it, attack it. They wasn't expecting it. Wipe them out. Find all the gold and the resources and the scholars in the community, all the doctors, all the high IQ people, the low IQ people, the labor workers, the engineers, and everything. You can get them, keep them alive, and use them to invent things. Or just take things that they invented and just take it and claim it as your own. I mean, I know that, you know, the Jews and the whites came up with these patents things. Patent just means I'm taking your invention. But anyway, so turns out Chinese invented guns. They had people's like, well, they were just doing the fireworks and whatnot. Actually, nah. they really actually had a whole bunch of, you know, gunpowder inventions, guns, cannons. In fact, the one we know right now is the cannon. They invented the cannon. They came up with the it's like a rocket launcher. It's basically like a tube looking thing, and then like it shoots out gunpowder. So people's like, whoa, what about the bullets? Who cares? It can still kill you, man. And what the point is that they came up with it. I think they invented landmines and all kinds of stuff. So to say the whites invented guns, nah, man. It took them a long time. You know, think about how many like fingers got blown off, or like how many people they probably got killed in the process of getting this gun. You know, you better thank the Chinese for actually going through that trial and error area where some heads probably got blown off. You know, some fingers probably got blown off. Some people probably got killed in the process of making these weapons. Matter of fact, it probably sped up your process of making the guns because they already went through the trial and error. They already went through like the beginning phases of, blown off ligaments and stuff. And like no fingers, you know. So this is how these things go about. You know, you conquer an area, you trade with an area, you trade ideas, and that's how you succeed in life. So that's why technology is cheaper. That's why the technology gets better and better, because we work with each other. We share ideas. This whole white community thing is stupid. You don't really need it. Like, even if you live in a white community, something in your community, it was not created by you. There was technology that you use. There's cars that you drive. There's food that you eat. It has nothing to do with whites. And this whole white culture thing, it doesn't make any sense. There is no one white culture. There's so many white cultures. There's matter of fact, just if you say white culture, there's not one. When you say European culture, there isn't one. There's so many different man, there's like 10 to 20,000 Christian religions. That's how vast the culture is of even Christianity. that there's 10 to 20,000 different sects of Christianity. That's crazy, right? So to say there's some white culture is insane. I mean, just like if you want to say white American culture, I can name five of them that's totally different. You got the punks, you got the goths, you got the skaters, you got the grunge, you got the hillbillies. That's five right there. Totally different cultures. Man, you got the rednecks, you got the cowboys, you got the good old boys, you got the people who like pop country, you got the people who like bluegrass, honky tonk. I mean, people who like pop country are different from people who like honky tonk and bluegrass. You have so many different types of white American culture. You have the jocks. You have the smart whites. You have like the nerds. You have the valley girls. I mean, you have girls who live in Jersey compared to girls who live in like Beverly Hills. You have girls who can live in California. You have different girls that live in Beverly Hills versus girls that live like in more like the poor areas. The crackhead girls. I mean, crackhead, being a crackhead is a culture. It's a different type of lifestyle. You know? And then rich white girls. You got rich white girls, you got poor white girls, you got white girls that live in the suburbs. It's like, that's three different cultures right there. So, you got, and they have their different accents. Not all white girls sound the same. Not all white boys sound the same. You know, you got surfer white dudes. Surfs up, pal. I mean, even they're like, you got skater white boys that have different slang than surfer white boys. I mean, whites have so much culture. I mean, you have blacks that so much culture. Not all blacks are the same. Not all Indians are the same. And another problem I have with the alt-right is that they don't admit that they're racist. I mean, every other race that has racist values, racist culture, has no problem with calling themselves racist. They don't really care. You ask an Asian person, you ask a Chinese person, hey, why do you only marry other Chinese? Isn't that racist? They'll say, so. That's just how we do it. And then over time you realize that, I don't know, maybe that's not really a good idea. And then they realize that, you know, we ain't got to do that more. You know, cultures die all the time. You know, people might think, well, the punk rock culture might not have been that great. You know, we doing drugs all day. We're not producing nothing. You know, I wrecked a couple of relationships doing this. You know, people died of some overdoses, and they realized that, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should refine it a little bit. Maybe we shouldn't be doing drugs all the time. Maybe we should go back to just smoking weed. I don't know. You know, over time, people realize that not all cultures are beautiful. Not all cultures are great. Like Sargoy has said, not all cultures are beautiful. Some are not great. And some have to be changed and refined. So, saying that we should go back to white culture, I don't know, man. You're like, back in the 50s, black households were married more than white households. So, I don't understand how you're saying that your 50s white culture was better than blacks, because it wasn't. Black families, like a lot of whites would tell you that black families during like the 50s were actually more family loving and more more put together than white families. You were more likely to divorce in a white household than a black household. So more black households were more intact and more loving, and their kids were raised better. Why do you think that whites, when they got nannies, they were always black? Because they knew that the blacks would raise their kids better. Why do you think now the nannies are now Mexican? Because the blacks stopped, raising the kids correctly, but the Mexicans do. So that's why the nannies are all Mexican. If whites are so great, then why is it that the minorities are the one raising their kids? Sometimes breastfeeding their kids. Like my grandma would tell you, she was saying that it wasn't that, it's not just that the blacks were raising the kids, disciplining the kids also. In charge of raising, teaching, and disciplining the kids. And also they were breastfeeding the kids. That's crazy, right? But it's totally true. Once you know your history, you're like, whoa, man, for real? Yep. Raising the kids, breastfeeding the kids, disciplining the kids, and teaching the kids and making sure they do their homework. So if you want to say the whites were the white kid grew up correctly, it's because they were being raised by black people. So high divorce rates during the 50s, and most the kids were raised by the minorities in the community. Anyway, so isn't it kind of funny how like people talk about how the Europeans are they used to be like, they're saying that they're low crime or whatever, when actually during like the 1800s and stuff, that's when the whites were doing the most crime. Because like people talk about Australia and how all the people in Australia used to be like because the Europe had so many criminals, they couldn't build the jails big enough, so they would take all the criminals and they would throw them on an island. So they bit all the criminals that couldn't fit in their jails, and they put them into Australia because they didn't know what to do with them because they had too many of them. So they probably were just like starting war just to get rid of all the crazy people. That's probably why the low crime rate, the crime went down, because they were probably starting wars to get rid of them, or they were just throwing them places. You know, and Australia is great now because over time people realize that, you know what, living like this ain't so great. And they probably, because of all the wars, and they probably killed off half of them. So the ones that were left is the ones that are, was gonna act right. So what you have, as always, is some whites do some good stuff, some whites do some bad stuff. Some whites start some bad stuff, some good whites stop the bad whites. Some blacks do some stuff, and then some blacks do some bad stuff. And then some good blacks stop the other bad blacks. So some Chinese invent some things, some Arabs invent some things, some Arabs do some stuff, ain't so great, and then some Arabs do some stuff that is great. So once you work together, you bring in your cultures, you figure out, okay, what's bad in the culture, you get rid of it. And I think this whole like focusing on like saying that one culture is better than the other and whites are better than other races, I mean, I don't really see the benefit of doing that. And it's kind of like too late. It's too late to stop immigration. It's just like, it's just my feelings at this point. You know, you feel as though your race is better than other race. Your race is, okay, your race is, whatever, calm down. You know, it's better to just admit that you're racist and say, you think your race is better, and move on. It's not a big deal. Other races are racist too. They have no, if you call them racist, they don't care. You know, they say, hey, Indians, how come you want Indians in your country? Well, how come you only want to live around Indians? Isn't that racist? If you call them racist, they're like, who cares? You know, yeah, we want our country to be Indian. So, what's the big deal? So I don't get why the alt-rights are such cowards and they don't want to call themselves racist. It's pretty obvious that you're racist. Like, you think whites are better than other people, you know, so get over it. It's not a big deal. I know that Sargon, he thinks you guys are a threat, but you're not. You know, these people, there's a lot of racists out there, yeah, but I don't know. Most of the time, they don't really do anything. They're just a bunch of cowards anyway. Every time you ask them some questions, they back down instantly. And then every time you're like, well, you're every time when you debate, all right, you're really just debating the dumb ones. Like, no, man. Once you get the smart ones in there, they're just as dumb as the other ones. You know, but it's not a big deal. Low IQ, high IQ, who cares? You know, we're here, we're on this earth together. You're gonna have to deal with it. You ain't gonna stop immigration, man. Ain't gonna happen. You ain't gonna stop the immigrants from having kids. But you know what will do it? You know, if you improve their countries, they don't need to have kids. The reason why people have kids is because they need work. They need workers. If you're starving and you think that kids are gonna one day get a job so you can eat, then you're gonna have kids. And you have a lot of times when you're poor, you have a lot of time. There's not much to do. You know, you don't have no recreation, so you know having kids is is something to do. It's giving you it's exciting. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. So if you give these people more to do, if you give these people, if you stop attacking these people, stop exploiting them, stop bombing their country, maybe they can do something. Maybe you can just leave them alone. And then once they get more knowledge and realize, you know what, we don't need to have that many kids. We don't need to be shooting each other all day. You know, we should be improving our situation. Once you get out of the way and stop telling them what to do, leave them alone. And actually 95% of immigrants that come to Western countries, they leave people alone. They don't even care. This assimilate thing is like stupid. Who cares if they assimilate or not? Whites haven't even assimilated. Like I said, whites have so many different cultures. I mean, how many people did you meet in high school that were not like the other whites? I'm pretty sure you had a bunch of whites in your high school. You was like, man, I don't like assimilating with them whites, man. They get on my nerves. So this whole assimilate, and I'm pretty sure you had some stoner dudes that you hated, and you did not like assimilating with them, and you wish they were gone. And when they were, you was glad. And I'm pretty glad. I'm pretty sure you was glad that they did not assimilate within your friends, and they didn't mess up your community of friends. So this whole assimilation, they got to assimilate. I mean, if they're not better than you, why would you want them to assimilate anyway? Wouldn't you be? I mean, Europe is so huge, America is so huge. Shouldn't you want them to just stay in their culture and not, let's say, culturally enrich your culture and mess up your culture? Isn't that the whole point? Is that your culture is better than theirs? Shouldn't they just leave you alone and stay in their community? I thought that was the whole point. Is that you don't want them to infiltrate yours and mess up your stuff. But I don't know. Whites have so many problems right now that, they're talking about other people. You haven't even mastered your own cultures yet, and you're already moving on talking about other people's cultures. So a lot of these people, when they talk about this stuff, they live mediocre lives, they live boring lives, they're not happy. But once you have a life and you become happy, man, you could care less about what other people are doing. So, you got Adam signing out. Once you get away from my feelings, you'll be alright. But you can have your feelings, but don't let them cloud your mind. Don't let them Jedi mind trick you. Yes. Don't go to the dark side. If you don't go to the dark side, you'll be okay.